Welcome to the Dealmaker Catalyst. Today's guest is Michael Zuber, the author, founder, and voice behind One Rental at a Time, a real estate investing platform that has helped thousands rethink financial freedom through buy and hold rental strategy. Michael began his investing journey in 2002 while working full-time in tech, buying his first rental property in Fresno, California. Over the next two decades, he built his portfolio one property at a time, navigating market cycles, surviving the '08 crash, and eventually growing a diversified portfolio of well over 100 rentals. After reaching financial independence in his mid-40s and stepping away from his W-2 career, Michael turned his focus toward helping others do the same. Today, he shares daily insights on real estate, markets, and long-term wealth building through his One Rental at a Time YouTube channel, community, podcast, and best-selling book. Please welcome Michael Zuber. How you doing, man?
I'm doing well. I'm going to replay that. I might make that my jingle on my phone. That was such a very nice and pleasant thing to hear. It was very nicely done. I appreciate that. Look forward to, giving value to your community.
Yeah, that's awesome, Michael. And I just shared this story with you offline, but I think it's worth repeating to the audience, kind of how this connection came about. And it's a testament to networking and just being in the right rooms with the right people, the right mentors. And I shared with you, probably 7 years ago, I had a mentor in Greg Dickerson, who was kind of helping me and my business partner really just figure out how to balance. And we have full-time careers, full-time families, and we were trying to build something in real estate on the side. So in one conversation, he gave me two names. One was Jim Ingersoll, who was local to me in Virginia. He said, you got to tap into his network. Done. I connected with Jim. The other name was Michael Zuber. He said, you got to follow his YouTube and all of his teachings, because what he has done is exactly what you guys are on the path of doing. And so I did those two things. Never connected with you, but here 7, 8 years later, Jim Ingersoll has brought us two together for this podcast, and I'm excited about it. So,
well, you're in very good company. I was lucky enough to speak with Greg Dickerson for, I believe, just over 4 years. He was part of my millionaire panel, and he was very gracious throughout the pandemic to do it. He's obviously very busy doing all kinds of things. Funny story about Greg is he wanted to stop 1 year earlier. He's like, Michael, I got so much stuff going on. I don't think I can give your community attention. And frankly, my community revolted. And Greg saw the comments and he goes, okay, I'll give you a 1 year heads up. And, he was very gracious to do that. I love Greg. I talk to him as often as I can. And then Jim Ingersoll, he's the first guy that gave me my shot. So I retired in 2018 rather suddenly. I produced what became ultimately the bestseller, One Rental at a Time. And he reached out and he invited me to speak at Dealmaker. I think it was like a month after the book came out. I just got him. I mean, this is how fresh it was. It was the first time I sold a physical book. I went to his event and I think I brought 100 and they all sold out in like the first couple of minutes. I will never not do something for Jim Ingersoll. He gave me my shot. He invited me back the next year, and he's in my second book. I wrote another book called 15 Conversations with Real Estate Millionaires. He's in that book. That's how meaningful he is to me. And I'll never forget what Jim did for me. So, yeah.
Yeah, he's a powerful human being in all the right ways,
It's funny you brought up the word networking, because I think I missed this for the first 5 years of my career. And most people would argue I'm successful, but I'm telling you, it was a huge miss. I have these 7 ORAT rules. It's what I reached and turned around to get earlier. And rule number 3, I'll just read it to you. It says, grow your network. Meet 2 new people a week. Folks, in the real estate world, sometimes it's that simple. Just meet 2 new people a week. And you know how you do that? You just ask for introductions. It's not who you know, it's who knows you. And, you will go a lot faster. You will lose a lot less money. And frankly, you will have a lot more fun if you grow your network. So please take it as, the first action item of this talk. Try to meet 2 new people a week. It's not that hard. I know you can do it.
I love that. And I think that's going to segue very well into what you're going to talk about. Have you read The Compound Effect by Darren Hardy? like everything you talk about is like those principles, just stacking wins daily over time is boring. It's not sexy. Nobody wants to, it's not reinventing anything. It's just doing consistent things and meeting 2 people a week. How hard is that? It's not. Like but you stack that over a year, you've met over 100 new people. You do that over 10 years, you've met 1,000 new people. And that it compounds over time with a lot of, just like a lot of the stuff you're going to talk about. So what I want to do today, Michael, is first of all, I want to kind of lead off. I want to encourage everybody, just like I was encouraged all those years ago, to go follow and learn more about what you're doing, because we'll never be able to cover over the next 45 minutes everything that all the value you've put out there. So your YouTube channel, we'll put that in the links. We'll put your podcast. Everything's going to be there for folks to go learn more about your story. But today, for time's sake, I really want folks to sit down with a pen and paper, come back and listen to this if you're driving or working out and you don't have that in front of you. But Michael's going to give us some tactical takeaways for folks that are stuck or just getting started. And trust me, he's not going to tell y'all anything. He's not reinventing anything. He's not going to give y'all anything you haven't already heard, but he's going to teach you how to lean into these principles over time and what comes on the heels of it. So Michael, I'm going to kind of turn the floor over and you can start this wherever you want, my man.
Well, I'm going to lean into the 7 ORAT rules. And again, I think they're simple, as you've said, but they are rules for a reason, right? These are things that you don't fight them. Now, you can ask questions, you can dig deeper, you can look for the deeper meaning, which I'm happy to go into. So I'll go through each of them one by one, and then I'll let you ask if you want me to go deeper. How about that?
Yep, I love it.
All right. So rule number 1, this is a must do. It is rule number 1 for a reason. It is, you must establish a buy box. Okay, great. What is a buy box? A buy box is a set of criteria that you lock in and look at every day. You look at every day for somewhat between 90 and 120 days. Now, why do you do that? A buy box does so much for new investors, especially newbies, especially people who are stuck. A buy box teaches you the skill of real estate investing. How does it do that? By being focused on a finite, and set of criteria, you're looking at the same inventory over and over and over and over and over. And not sexy, right? We already said that. It's not sexy. But this is what happens. You learn to start what moves, what gets sold, what comes back, when price drops, what this happens, what that happens. And the whole idea, the 100% goal of a buy box is to answer the following question. Given the set of criteria that I have established, what is an average deal? Now, again, I happen to measure average deal by cash on cash return. I call it yield. I don't care what you call it. But at the end of the day, the daily repetition, the boring repetition, you will eventually have this aha moment that says, this deal is better than anything else I have seen. And the buy box will ultimately give you 3 things. Number 1, it will give you confidence. It will not give you confidence in the entire market. That's not what it's for. But it will give you confidence in that set of criteria. How did I use that set of criteria? First off, here is an example of my criteria from 2002, when this journey started. 93703. That is a zip code in Fresno, California. So in reality, for the first 3 years, I didn't invest in Fresno. I invested in 93703. Then asset type, I chose single family homes. It means I ignored duplexes, quads, condos, trailer parks, all that other stuff. House. Then I had to do 3 bedrooms or 4 bedrooms. So not too big, not too small. 2 baths, right? I wanted that second bath. I wanted a 2-car garage. 1 story. And I think it was between, this gets a little fuzzy, I think it was between like 1,200 and 1,800 square feet, something like that. So the idea is that is the criteria I looked at every day. So what does that do? If the fish, in this case a deal, swims across that criteria, I see it. But this is where you're going to fight me. You're going to fight me. You're going to say something like, Michael, that's too boring. It doesn't change enough, whatever. And then you're going to get a second buy box and a third. And as soon as you do that, you lost. You lost. You're out. Done. Because you're not getting economies of scale. You're mixing stuff up. You can't learn Chinese, Italian, and Spanish at the same freaking time. You got to stay focused. But then when something comes across that buy box, you know it better than anybody else. So again, the first thing it gives you is confidence. Second, it removes distractions. That is where most of you are failing. Most of you are stuck because you can't tell me where you want to invest. If you can tell me where, you can't tell me what. Oh, I'm looking for a deal. Just give me a deal. I'll buy any deal. How do you know it's a deal and somebody's not lying to you unless you've done the reps and repetition? Right? And then third, and this is the whole idea. Once you know average, Jason, you can write offers that are good or great. I'll tell you, I haven't done this in a while. We'll give you a sample of that. Let's just say after 90 days, you come back to Jason and or I or both of us and say, congratulations, Michael. The average yield in my buy box is 6%. What do I do? Well, first off, take a moment, recognize you've done something that less than 1% of the world has done. And now, don't change your buy box. Go write offers that produce 8s, 10s, and 12s, right? Those are great deals. In my community, I do not reward average. The goal is not to learn average and buy average. The goal is to learn average and do good or great. That's what the game is here. So again, rule number 1 of the 7 is get a buy box. Don't fight it. Don't argue. I know it's boring. I know it's slow, but do it anyway. That's rule number 1. What do you think?
I love it. I think I don't really have any questions, but I want to make a few comments and observations on that.
Sure.
I was so guilty early on of, I mean, it's cliche, but the shiny object syndrome. When I would and I would tell people, I'm a real estate investor. What do you invest in? Everything. Bring me any deal. I'll look at it all. And right. So what ended up happening? I was running myself ragged, trying to make all these things fit into a box that I hadn't even established. I didn't know what I wanted. And unfortunately, early on, I was quick to get some good mentors and coaches that led me. And you played, just by listening to your content, a big role in that. But the buy box, when it got dialed into literally having the mindset of, this is what it is. If it bleeds outside of that at all, I don't want it. I don't even want to look at it, because there's so much it's kind of like, you go out and buy a new pickup truck or a new car. Yep. And you hadn't seen many of those cars on the road until you buy it. Now you see them everywhere. When you define that buy box, now you start seeing everything that fits in that box everywhere. And then that's a great starting point. So I love that as a starting point.
All right. Rule number 2. Again, people fight me on this. It's a rule for a reason. Daily discipline. Now, this happens to be my personal superpower. Whether I'm trying to get healthy or get wealthy, I'm able to focus and lean in and do it daily. What I'm asking for, again, is 20 minutes a day, 7 days a week. 20 minutes a day, 7 days a week. Now, again, remember the buy box that we just talked about. That's all I want you to look at. Your buy box, once you look at it for a week or 10 days, it does not change that much. All you're looking for are the 2 or 3 changes. And let's be clear, some days, nothing changes. And if that happens, congratulations, you check the box, move on with your day. But the idea is, I want you to look every day, because again, where do people fight me with this? They're like, Michael, I have a busy job. I have a family. I have this, I have that. I'm going to do 3 hours on Sunday. I'm like, wrong. Nope. Sorry. You're going to miss 6 days. You're going to miss 6 days. You're going to have no idea what happened. There will be stuff that come on and off the market in 48 hours that you will never see. So no, not approved. Wrong. If you're that busy, wake up early, stay up later. It's 20 freaking minutes and it'll change your life. If you're not willing to give me 3 to 6 months to do this, then don't even bother. And then lastly, as somebody who has now done this for over 25 years, most of that time, I had a demanding job that took me on airplanes 6 days a week. I had a family at home. I tried to stay healthy. I get it. Life's busy. If you want to be wealthy, it costs you 20 minutes a day to look at your buy box. That's rule number 2.
That, and again, I think the reason I want to relate it to my paths, because everything you said are principles that I followed, right? So the 20 minutes a day, my business, everybody knows that has followed, my other podcast or our business. I've done this with a business partner all along the way, and we both had very demanding jobs. We would meet at 5:30 a.m. in a Hardee's parking lot or in Hardee's, but during COVID, we had to be in the parking lot for a little while.
Crazy.
But 2 or 3 days a week to compare notes and then go about our work day. He was making offers on his lunch break. I had more of a flexible schedule, but I was carving out time to negotiate and work with contractors and all this stuff. And it was every single day because of advice like this. And it compounded over time. And but what helped me more than anything else, Michael, and you mentioned kind of the fitness piece of it, seeing the traction we got in business with this, I started, which I had never done before until I was in my late 30s. I started applying this to my physical life, right? My, workout. I don't need to do a grueling 1-hour workout every day. I just got to sweat for 20 minutes most days and I'm good. And I don't have to forego eating a nasty, bad for me meal all the time. I just 5-6 days a week eat good and then splurge on a day or two and I'm good. And so those same daily habits apply to everything in your life, not just real estate. So
absolutely. So rule number 3, we've already hit: grow your network, meet 2 new people a week. To your point, and I say this all the time, if you can meet 2 new people a week, that's 100 people in a year. That's 1,000 people in a decade. And in the real estate world, something I've always said, and it was Jim Ingersoll that, Jim Ingersoll literally told me this quote the first time, right? Your network is your net worth, or your net worth is your network. Sorry, whatever way. But again, it is everything. Folks, don't sleep on that. I'm still trying to meet 2 new people a week. And I've been doing this for 20 years. And it's led me to some amazing people. So again, never stop networking. And it's not that hard. You may think it's hard when you don't know anybody. But, once you start, hey, glad to meet you, blah, blah, blah. It's easy to ask for referrals. Who else? Can you give me one more name to meet? Everybody's got one more name to meet. And can you give me a warm introduction? Sure. So again, that's rule number 3.
Love it.
Rule number 4. This is really the output of rule 1 and 2, and that is learn average deal first. Why is this a rule? Because I think so many people come to real estate investing with dollar signs in their eyes. I want to make a deal. I'm going to be a millionaire. I'm going to produce $1 million a month, whatever it is. But I truly believe you're paying stupid tax until you can articulate what average is. Until you can articulate what an average deal is, you frankly have no right to offer on anything. Because how do you know what you're doing? How do you know that's a good deal? If you can't tell me what average is, Jason, you can't tell me what great is either. So the whole goal of 1 and 2 combined, smashed together, is at the end of the day, in my buy box, because I've looked at it every day for 90 days, is an average deal is X. And then once you know X and can communicate X, dude, the world's your oyster. Freaking go bananas. Now you can write good or great deals everywhere. That's the goal. That's rule number 4.
I love that.
All right. Rule number 5. You got to throw this in there because this is real life. Bad things will happen. Sorry, learn, and move on. Bad things are going to happen. You're involved in a people business. You're involved in a business with physical things, and trees breaks and pipes breaks and shit happens. The idea from all of these lessons is to learn if you could have done something to avoid them. I've run teams my entire life, and what I've always told them is I always forgive one mistake. Like if it's an original mistake, we're all learning, right? Even if thousands or tens of thousands or $1 million deal was lost, as long as it's a mistake we haven't done before, it's an opportunity to learn. But I'll get really pissed if we repeat that mistake, because that means we paid the tax twice.
Right.
And I am not happy about paying taxes twice. So that's number 5.
I'm going to stay here for a minute because this is something I get very passionate about as well. I'll phrase it in a question to you, get your opinion. Do you, what you're talking about is building resilience, right? And the ability to push through hard things, right? And again, that can be applied to anything in life. Can that be a learned behavior for folks?
I think if people gave themselves, I don't think enough people give themselves permission, right? They want to be perfect. And dude, we're human beings. We're not perfect. And more importantly, because we're in real estate, it's a people business. And let me just tell you right now, most people suck, right? Yes. They just suck. There are some great people out there like Jim Ingersoll, but most people suck. And, give yourself some grace. The whole idea of, fall down 9 times, get up 10. That's what life is about. You're going to get knocked down. Don't beat yourself up. Life is like, the only way to fail at this is to stop. Get up. Again, as somebody who has run teams and done $100 million years and things of that nature, I have absolutely no problem with original mistakes. In fact, I have been known to celebrate original mistakes because I want everybody to see it so nobody else repeats it. Like I remember running a QBR, which stands for Quarterly Business Review, and we had just lost $1 million deal. I think it was $1.2 million because a competitor came in with a new thing that we had not seen before. And I didn't know to educate my team because I had never seen it before. So guess what I did at that QBR? I brought up that sales team who probably lost a $50,000 commission check, and I celebrated them. Why did I do that? Because I wanted every other sales rep out there not to be suckered by the competitor and lose another $1.2 million deal. So this team that unfortunately uncovered it first and felt bad was celebrated and lauded because nobody else on my team was going to see that issue. So again, it happens. Bad things happen. Learn and move on.
Yeah, and they're, especially if you're new or, God, you and I both are experienced in real estate. Bad things still happen, right?
Dude, I had just the other day I talked about a $200,000 loss. Shit, yeah, stuff still happens.
Yep.
Yeah.
But you condition yourself over time, and you kind of get calibrated to just know that they're coming. I'm gonna deal with them. It's not the end. We have all survived 100% of the bad things that have happened to us. If we're breathing, we've survived them. So,
just don't do them twice.
Exactly.
I implore you not to do. I will not lose that $200,000 again. That right will not happen. I learned that lesson. All right, number 6. And again, this is where a lot of this one here from 2020 to 2023 is where I lost a lot of people because money was easy. Right? Yep. The gurus were pumping and, you could be a bad operator and make $1 gazillion. Here it is. 5 to 10 year commitment. This is not get rich quick, but it is get rich for sure. That's what this game is. Yes, I know 2020 and 21 were unique and everybody printed money. But guess what? Most of those people are broke or bankrupt now because they didn't learn the game. And again, I've been doing this for almost 30 years. 2020 and 21 were exactly like 05 and 06. Exactly. And I thrived in the GFC because I saw it coming. So I saw 2020 and 21 coming and knew what would happen. I've actually have records of saying we are going to see massive multifamily pain because you idiots did the same thing. Short-term debt, variable rate debt, IO payments, 3-year terms. You guys are cooked and you don't even know it. Yep. So I look forward to buying some busted syndications here in the next 18 months.
Yeah, we're right here at it.
I saw it coming. Yeah. Yep. So again, this is a 5 to 10 year commitment. You're not going to get wealthy in less than 5. And I generally say a decade, but some people have done it shorter. So I generally say a decade. It takes a decade.
Number 7.
7, and the final ORAT rule is audit your personal network. And really ask yourself this question: are they helping or hurting you? Are they on the same path? And this is really important stuff. And when I wrote this rule, which was in 2018, I was thinking about people. I've now tweaked rule number 7 to include this damn device because so many of you are scrolling and consuming poison. I believe a lot of you are consuming doom porn, poison. Crash Bros, Peter Schiff, all of these other people that have been calling crashes for decades. And most of you will tell me, Michael, I'm doing it to get the other side. Well, okay. Would you take one drop of poison in your water glass? Probably not. If you want to risk that, go nuts. But our head game, our mental capacity is something that you should not trifle with. And if you're consuming one drop of poison every day because it's fair and balanced or blah, 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 you're not going to get anywhere. It's not going to be helpful. So be very careful who you associate with. And again, I've said this for years. Some of you need to fire your friends. I'm not speaking to you, Jason, but you, the viewer. Some of your friends suck. I don't know why you associate they're OGs and I've known them forever, but yeah, they're broke and drunk and they're just pulling you down. You got to fire them. Move on. So that's it. Those are the 7 rules.
Talking about the daily dose of poison, it's just another example, but in the other way of compounding, right? That compounds over time. And
Amen.
So while you're adding 2 great people to your network every day, every week, whatever metric you want to throw out there, but you're also adding poison. And I love that. I haven't really thought of, I've thought of it that way, but to articulate it that way, I love that analogy because that is what it is. And you do that and let it compound over time. That's going the opposite direction. So you could go out and make your 2 new friends every day, but also be adding the poison in every day. It's a wash. You're not going anywhere. You're sitting still. So,
amen.
Yeah, I love that. I want to go back, and I love those 7 principles. I want to go back to kind of the beginning because you establish a buy box, great starting point, and then you get into the daily discipline, and that could be these really, call them KPIs, whatever you want to call them. But one thing that I know you see it because your network and the folks you've coached and mentored over the years is vast. I see a lot of people trip up early on because it's uncomfortable to hear no or get rejected, right? So they have these daily disciplines, but they don't see traction right out of the gate and they don't make enough offers or just get it down to the right. So like when we started, and it was Greg Dickerson that challenged me to this. He said, you need to be throwing out 20 offensive offers a week, and that's a lot of offers. You do that over a month or more, you're around 100 offers. You should be able to lock something under contract if those offers are sticking within your buy box. So most people don't do that, Michael, and I know you see it. They're because you make that many offers, 99% of them are being not even countered. So what do you have to say about that?
So I love this question, and I'll go one step up and then I'll go to where you are.
Okay.
A lot of newbies will say something like the following: my goal is to buy a deal in 2026. And frankly, I won't accept that. That's not what I want. That's what I tell them is any average fool can buy a deal. That's not the measure of success, at least not in my eyes. I want you to write, and I'm very specific about this given my rules, I want you to write 100 great offers. That's what this game is about. You make your money when you buy. And, my word for what Greg gave you is disrespectful.
Yeah.
I want you to write 100 disrespectful offers, especially today. Given today's interest rates and today's prices, it's hard to get a great deal. But that's the game. So what I tell, because again, I don't know, 99% of new investors will come to me and go, I am going to buy a deal in 2026. And it just, to me, it's like nails on a chalkboard. That is the wrong goal. The goal is to do daily disciplines, learn average. Check. The next goal is to write 100 great offers. Check. And then if, and only if, somebody responds and the deal stays good or great, given negotiations, then you do a deal.
Yep.
Right? They try to put the cart before the horse. I have met so many people, and it might be upwards of 1,000 people. It's certainly 500 people that have said something like the following: Michael, I am going to, or even worse, I just did a deal that wasn't a good deal. but I did it to pay, right, the idiot tax. So wait a second. So you're telling me you did a bad deal because you just want to be in the game? I didn't approve that. I mean, if you want to lose money, you could just mail me a check, $200 a month. I'll make you feel better. I mean, is that really what we're doing here, guys? You want to lose money and feel like you're in the game? No, I don't approve that. And then let's get real. So again, one thing that I did after I retired is I had never flipped before. I did one accidental flip, but that's in the book. But other than that, I was not a flipper. And we did 56 flips in like 27 months because it was easy and I was bored. Mm-hmm. But how does that happen? I wrote lots of disrespectful offers. In fact, I will give you a real story. There's an agent named Scott, and if he ever watches this, he'll know who he is. He was a brand new agent. And again, as somebody at this time who had hundreds of units, 2 decades in a market, lots of people knew me. But Scott was determined to become one of my top agents. So I challenged him. I said, okay, I'm going to use you to write my most disrespectful offers. And long story short, he ended up writing almost 100 offers exactly before we got our first deal. Oh. And now, in fairness, he's templatized and he could do my offers in like 3 minutes, but still, I wrote 100 offers and we got I think we had like 95 no's and like 3 counters before we got a deal. And I had no idea how long it was going to take. And frankly, I didn't care. We were just going to go until someone said yes. And let's be clear, if nobody ever said yes because 2020 and 21 were an odd time, I would be completely okay with that because I don't do average or bad deals. It's not about no. It's just about great deals. And people have to change their orientation.
I love that. Similar story. We had a realtor when we were really getting aggressive with offers. Same thing. We told her, was 2 different realtors, but one I'm talking about in particular in this market, said, you're going to get tired of us. We're going to be making offers that submitting them are not going to get accepted. And we're going to do this over and over and over. But if you stick with us, there's a good chance that this thing will start to scale and you're going to represent us on the buy side. And then the ones we end up selling, she ended up over a 3-year period, after a long time of getting offers rejected, which she earned about $300,000 in commission off of all of our deals over a 3-year period by sticking with us and getting nothing early on, nothing. And so that is, in a lot of realtors have this, I'm going on a tangent here, but they have this mindset, I don't want to work with investor clients.
That's funny. It's funny. It's crazy. I got to tell you, if you're a real estate agent, your future is real estate investors. Yeah. Why? Because we buy more than one thing, right? The whole idea, like if you've ever sold goods or products or whatever in the world, do you know who the easiest customer is? Somebody who already bought from you. Why do you want to go stand on the street corner and try to find a new person, right? So again, I would skill up and I coach real estate investors or talk to real estate investors or real estate agents, all the time. And I try to give them my vocabulary because again, if you're an agent, most of you will speak mom and dad buy a home language. That's not how investors think. So again, if you're a real estate agent and you understand what a buy box is and you understand what yield or cash on cash is, you're like way up here where the average agent is here. You will be flooded with business. It's crazy.
Yeah. And back to your point of not focusing so much on that one big goal, buy a house this year or buy 10 houses this year.
I hate that. I hate that goal. Sorry to interrupt. I mean, that goal repulses me. It's nails on a chalkboard. It's the wrong freaking goal.
Yep. And I learned early in my sales career, I was in insurance sales for years. And I learned this more when I got into sales leadership. But because I would always have the mentality, especially in my early 20s, what's the big goal? What's my big bonus or incentive for the year? Mm-hmm. I'm going to run like hell to get that. Don't know how I'm going to do it, but I'm just going to get it. And I always did, but it was chaotic trying to get there.
Sure.
Until I realized, no, the precedent has been set. There is a formula, and it's saying in real estate that if I make X amount of offers, I should get this amount of counters, this amount of contracts, and this amount of purchases, right? If you work that formula in any area of life that has been set before you, then you know what the numbers say should happen. Over time, you're going to be able to poke holes where, all right, if I'm doing these KPIs every day, every week,
Yep.
and I'm not getting these results over a long period of time, I need to get education around how I'm presenting offers, how I'm doing, how I'm negotiating, or whatever it is. It's simple, but nobody focuses on the day to day, or very few people do, and it's unfortunate.
Yeah, no, I mean, sales management, what you're referring to, pipeline management,
Yep.
something I lived for multiple decades. And yeah, it's just a sheer numbers game, numbers in, numbers out, and conversion at different parts. That's all this is.
Yeah. Yep. And I'm in the lending business now, and we set our goals heading into the end of the year for this year, and a couple of folks on my team were just looking at the big number. I said, nope, we are going to treat this just like I did in my sales career. We are going to dial it down to how many new outreaches we have to have every week.
Yep.
That if we trust the formula, I know the formula, it will far outreach
Yep.
that goal. If it doesn't, then we'll dissect it from there.
Yeah, then you just look at the conversion from warm leads to contact to this, and because that's all it is. It's just a pipeline, and there's 3 or 4 conversion points, and you may have a conversion point that's not performing as well, and you just go fix that. It's life simple.
Absolutely. So, Michael, I think this was fantastic on the fly. We didn't pre-plan this, but the 7 principles, I love that. If you don't mind, I'd love to get some type of link to. I mean, I wrote them all down, but some type of link to an asset folks can see in the show notes. And I kind of want to segue now to wrap this thing up. I've got a few questions for you that might help some of the listeners. So,
all right, this should be
all right. So, you've probably been asked this before, but what is one quote that best describes your overall perspective on life?
Oh, I've not been asked that, at least not asked that in a while. A quote. I'll give you one that I actually said yesterday that's fun. It's kind of tongue in cheek, but I was thinking about Charlie Munger the other day, who was Warren Buffett's partner in crime for 4 decades or 5 decades. And he said that there's only 3 L's that can destroy someone. Now, he was referring to men, and that's ladies, liquor, and leverage. Again, folks, the game of building wealth is really simple. Create discretionary income, become an elite investor in something, and do it for a decade. If you create a bad vice, now he's talking liquor, but it could be drugs, it could be anything else, that can destroy you. Divorce. Now, ladies or gentlemen, right? If divorce can destroy wealth. And then lastly, it's a decade. It takes a decade. Don't rush it. It's a journey. Enjoy the journey. As somebody who's been in the game for nearly 3 decades, I can tell you it's worth it. Don't fight it. Don't rush it. You'll be at my stage soon enough and look back with a smile. So I'll give you only 3 ways to destroy someone: ladies, liquor, and leverage.
Love that. What belief did you hold early in your journey that later turned out to be dangerously wrong?
Oh, this one sucks. This hurts. This one hurts to admit. I thought I was smarter and could outwork anyone. I certainly can outwork almost everyone. I am certainly not smarter than most people. I'm very average there. Why do I bring this up? I did the first 5 years of my real estate investing career alone. And we got to an okay spot, but it was hard. We had that spectacular failure on property number 1. I was ready to give up. Thankfully, my wife's smarter than me, and we kept going. But yeah, let me just tell you, life got easier when I started meeting 2 new people a week. That's why it's on there. Because again, you have more fun, you solve problems faster, you save money, and just real estate's a people business. I thought real estate was about spreadsheets, Jason. I thought the answer was having the most sophisticated, multiple worksheets, formula-driven spreadsheet.
Yeah.
It got so bad. I wish I kept it. I actually deleted it because I was so pissed at it. My spreadsheet today is so simple, right? It's just simple math, like subtraction, some division. But yeah, I thought I could do it alone, and this is not a game to do alone.
I think a lot of folks fall into that same trap. A lot of folks, I found it interesting. I just started a deal maker networking event, monthly event here in my area, and Jim came to our first event, and he asked everybody. It was about 60 people in the room, and he asked everybody. He said, "Raise your hand if you're an introvert." And I am not that, but I was shocked that over half the room raised their hand, and they're at a networking event. And Jim went on to kind of tell him he's an introvert too, which, you know, you wouldn't think that with the network he's built, but, and it really hit me that a lot of folks, it's really uncomfortable for them to do what you just said. They want to do it alone because they just don't have that natural tendency to be around people. And the folks that push through and just figure that out, I applaud them, you know.
Amen.
And yeah,
Well said.
I love that. All right. What'd you have to give up early on that you didn't expect to in order to start, quote unquote, winning?
You know, people aren't going to like this, but it is what it is. I was very unbalanced. You know, my job, you know, during the early part of the career was to go secure capital, which meant sell, because I was an employee, right? My job was to sell software. So I would literally work 6 days a week. I have this saying now, Jason, called every day is Saturday, because for almost 2 decades, I didn't have weekends. I had a day, and it was Saturday. Why? Because on Sunday, I would get on an airplane and go somewhere far away so I could be at a customer site Monday morning. So I lost most of my Sundays every year for a decade. And then I took on this real estate journey, and that meant that I was unbalanced. I was not giving time to my family. Right, wrong, indifferent, it's a true statement. So my daughter, Teresa, didn't have, you know, as much time with me as she should have. I have plenty of regrets about events and things that I didn't get to attend. And I'm not telling you this was the way to do it. I'm just telling you what I gave up. And I'm not saying it was the right thing to do either. I'm just telling you what I gave up. And I do think if you want to do anything great in life, you have to get unbalanced. Like, I don't believe in diversification, right? If you want to diversify, that means you're already rich. Again, I didn't plan this, but another Charlie Munger quote is, if you want to get rich, put all your eggs in one basket and watch the freaking basket.
Yeah.
That's what I did.
Yeah.
And that meant everything else suffered. And, you know, again, I'm not here telling you that it was right. It was. And, you know, I probably look back now and say it was wrong. But again, I gave up, you know, family time for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. I didn't know for not quite as long, but it was in that same path, a demanding W-2 career and what turned into a full-time real estate career. I had to pick one or the other. Things were going to go south fast, and I cut the ties to the W-2. But there was a period there where a lot of things were compromised, you know, and at the time I had very young kids, and I could see that if I didn't fix this was not going to end good for my wife, for the kids, for me, or anybody. So I'm glad you went there.
You're smarter than me.
Well,
I missed that.
Well, I don't know if it's smarter. I aligned with a couple good mentors that really knew what
observation
was me. So yeah,
all right. You're too kind. You're too kind.
If you had to rebuild from scratch tomorrow, what would you not do again, and why?
I don't think I would buy C-class stuff.
Okay.
You know, I think a lot of us fall into that, you know, Excel math. And, you know, C-class stuff is old, used, you know, stuff breaks sooner. You got big capital, you know, I mean, you start getting into really old C-class, you're talking sewer lines and just really big, unexpected things. You know, you know, if I had to wave a magic wand, my ideal portfolio today is 20 single family homes that average 5 years or less age. That's the ideal. Like, if somebody put a gun to my head, that would be the portfolio I would say is ideal. And, you know, I might go that direction. I might 1031 exchange out of my older stuff into brand new stuff, because I'm getting older, right? I'm in my mid-50s now. Yeah. And I'm certainly not grinding and hustling like I was when I was in my 30s. But yeah, I wouldn't buy as much C-class.
You kind of made a transition at some point, didn't you, from mostly single family to, was it
multi? Yeah, I went from 8 to 80 units. So again, we did this before the crash.
Yeah.
So one of the things you read in the book, if you get it and read it, is we had 8 single family homes. We went to a Bruce Norris event, another legend, that talked about a California crash. I had all my real estate in California, so the title of the event caught my attention.
Yeah.
I went to the event. I didn't understand half the things he said, but he talked about this affordability index. I researched it. I realized that Fresno was in trouble, and then I took massive action. I sold everything. I 1031. So we sold out of our houses at the peak and 1031 into apartments. We had 8 units at the beginning of the year, and in 15 months we had 80 units. And then, you know, all hell broke loose. That you could look it up. 1818 Norris Drive East, 93703. We bought for 107. It's on Zillow, so it's no secret. Bought for 107. We sold it for 263, not 3 years later. Talk about appreciation. That house retraded at 75 grand. I would probably still be working if I didn't make that transition. So always give credit to Bruce Norris for saving our ass.
Awesome. What is a failure that still influences how you operate today?
A failure. It's about people again. I always, again, my superpower, which also means it's, an Achilles heel, as often they are, is the ability to grind and execute for longer and crazier amount of time than anybody else. For example, I have a YouTube channel, One Rental at a Time, that's roughly 8 years old. And, most people who have an 8-year-old YouTube channel probably have 1,500 or 2,000 videos. I have almost 18,000. I have produced 3 videos a day, at least 3 videos a day for 5 years. So again, that's just how broken I am. But also it's my Achilles heel. It means that I'm very unbalanced. And, I'm getting a little bit better as I get older and wiser and wealthier, so I can be more unbalanced. But I think it's, and for all the strength that it is, it's also a weakness. It is certainly a weakness.
I'm going on the fly here because as you're talking about it, I'm wondering, now in today's culture, everything, like everybody knows, produce content, get eyeballs, whatever you're trying to do. But that wasn't such a mainstream idea when it sounds like you started your YouTube channel. What influenced you or motivated you to do that at that time?
I've gotten very few things right the first time in my life. But if you go back to video number 1, I said something sitting on my couch that is still my North Star. That's how I know I got it right. I am not doing this for money. I'm not doing this for any of this. My stated goal was to create something from nothing. So create something from scratch that outlived me by 50 years. I personally believe, you don't have to believe this, but I believe it. That's all that matters. I think you die twice. You die first when your physical body, gets in the ground or cremated or whatever it is. And then the second time you die is the last time somebody says your name. So my goal is to outlive my physical body by 50 years. That's what I've been doing. It's that my North Star says, produce 3 videos a day for 7 years. I produce 3 videos a day for 7 years.
Man, you can't see. I have goosebumps right now because you're speaking to my heart, and we'll wrap this up in a minute. But when I left my W-2 career, the one thing I knew I was going to miss was all the relationships. I got to talk to people all day, every day, right? And I knew that I could still do that in real estate, but it's just going to be different. I'm not trying, anyway. That motivated me to start a podcast. That's my Burning the Ships podcast. It is not blown up. I've done over 200 episodes. I do not care that it hasn't blown up, but I do it for one reason. It goes a little bit deeper than what you're talking about. I want to have a library of myself talking and my ideas and talking to people that I'm curious about for my kids and my grandkids to be able to see as long as they want to talk.
There's pop-up. Yeah.
I literally, that's all I care about with it. So it's what you just spoke to, and that means a lot to me. So Michael, you've provided more value in the last 45 minutes than most people will hear in decades. And what I want people to do, the action I'm going to ask them to take away is kind of what you just said, a couple things, but go meet 2 new people a week. That's easy. Simple step.
Done.
Build that. Let it compound. Follow these 7 steps, these 7 principles, and then go look. I mean, sometimes all folks need is just to find somebody or a resource that speaks to them in a way that they receive it. And you do that in a no BS way. There's no magic behind it. You're not a guru. You're none of those things. You're just speaking for what works, what's practical, what you've seen and observed over the years and experience. And so I encourage folks to go follow One Rental at a Time on all the platforms that you're out there with, and your book and everything else. And I cannot thank you enough for joining me today.
Thanks for the opportunity. Say hi to Jim for me.
Sure will. Thank you, Michael. That wraps up this episode of the Dealmaker Catalyst. If you want to keep learning from elite operators and plug into a national community that lives this stuff every day, check out Dealmaker Catalyst. Make sure you subscribe, leave a review, and share this episode with someone who's serious about leveling up. And we'll see you on the next Dealmaker Catalyst.